I was just flipped off by a silver-haired old lady with a honk if you love Jesus sticker on the bumper of her car.
Welcome back to Pagitt Radio, December 6th, 2009. Michelle, remember, it's your time to get up. Hey, if you're going to call in with a right on, Paul, I appreciate your calling here with a right on. I hope you call back here at the 11:50 slot and let us know about that, Paul. Appreciate it. Others that are going to be giving a call in, give a call in to 952-946-6205. The things going on in the world that are right the way they're supposed to be. This weekly installment of encouragement that we can make the world the way that we want to have it. We're in a conversation here with Cathleen Falsani. Kathleen is the author of The Dude Abides, the Gospel According to the Coen Brothers. I had asked in the last segment for Kathleen to reflect on what she thought was eating at these guys in the movies that they're making. And now, Kathleen, I'm interested in you and what's eating at you that you want to be public about your ideas about their movies. And you alluded to that a little bit earlier, that you want to encourage a broader spectrum of people and maybe some religious folks who tend to stay away from media and so on, to be more engaged with it, more thoughtful of it. But is there something else that's going on that you really hope this book is going to do, that you hope this book, your book is going to generate and provoke in people?
Well, I think one of the things would be that there's comfort in numbers, and when you realize that these two gentlemen who make these magnificent films have the same kind of stubborn questions that the rest of us do, or at least some of us do, I think watching them try to wrestle them out, and again, not come up with any great answers, but continue to wrestle is probably a comfort in some ways.
Yeah, I think so too. And I noticed that when you said it in the interview here, and you also wrote it in the book, that you see the Coen brothers as being public theologians and
secular theologians.
As secular theologians, and doing that in ways to invite other people into the process of thinking about these questions. And it seems like that's what you're trying to do with the book too, which is what I appreciated about it. Was trying to say, not focusing solely on the answers, but focusing on the dilemma, on the struggle, on the situation, and on the questions that are generated. And that's really that's one of the faithful acts that religious people ought to endeavor in.
You know, and religious people, in so much as they ever turn up in the Coen films, come off not exactly well, but with a great deal of tenderness there. One thing that I like, if the Coens were snarky and just dismissive,
right,
I don't think I would find them as appealing as a person of faith myself. But they're not. You know. I've had some religious people say to me, well, the worlds that they are reflecting or that they're creating are totally chaotic, but they're not. They're really not. There is a moral order to their universe. It might not be the one we're hoping for, but it's definitely there.
Well, I got to tell you, Kathleen, I pastor this church here in Minneapolis called Solomon's Porch, and we, for our sermons, we read through whole sections of the Bible together. So we're currently reading through the book of Genesis, and we're reading chapters 20 and 21 tonight, which is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, yeah.
And Lot and Abraham and all these characters and all these people and all this stuff going on, and God walking up and talking to somebody under a tree, and Abraham in this barter with God about how many righteous people does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, and all this stuff is going on, and it is a dark story.
Yeah.
And there's no way to read it. That when I hear people say things like, well, the way these guys write movies, or I want to talk about television a little bit with you here, but the other, that kind of portrayal of life, well, that's just not very accurate. If one's going to suggest that, then the great amount of the Bible's narratives, be it from the book of Genesis or all the way through Exodus or during the Babylonian period or the suffering of Jesus or the stoning of the apostles, all of that would have to be out. I mean, it's really crazy, isn't it, that you have to put something at the beginning of the book trying to say to people like, okay, really, you can, these stories are not, that it's okay. Like what has happened in the fabric of Christian conversation where that's what we're left with is having to defend the fact that people who are asking these kind of root and gritty questions that are told inside of provocative narratives, right? I mean, they're filmmakers. They're not just they're not doing documentaries, right? They're trying to tell a story. But that's what you find when you read through Genesis, as we're going to do tonight. Yeah.
Right. It's interesting. The fellow who wrote the introduction or the foreword to the book is a rabbi, Alan Setcher, and he says in his foreword that they're telling biblical stories.
Mm-hmm.
He suggests to them this plot for a film that people might think is wholly unbelievable, but it's actually the story of King David.
Yeah.
It's there. But I think,
Yeah.
A lot of Christians are really uncomfortable with the notion of beauty and truth that is anything other than our idea of what perfection is.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think without brokenness, I think brokenness is a part of beauty. I was at a salon group here last night in California. A visual artist was talking to us about the notion of beauty and justice. And he said that he had somebody read one of his books, which was on that topic, and talk about this fellow who wrote to him said that, my understanding was that my heart is a mirror, and God shines into my heart, and I'm supposed to shine the perfection of God back out into the world. But, my mirror is shattered, and I always felt terrible about that. It's not working correctly. But you know what? When light hits a broken mirror, it refracts, and it's even deeper. And I think we need to think about that as believers.
Yeah.
That all of the characters in the Bible, but for Jesus, were terribly broken people.
Yeah.
But God saw the beauty in that, and that's kind of where I see the beauty in the Coen films. They're broken, and it represents a broken world, but that's the one that a lot of us see most clearly.
There's a musician, a music producer named T-Bone Burnett who says he has this quote which I think comes from him. It's been in my head so long it's kind of become mine. But it's something like, if Jesus is the light of the world, then we have two choices. We can sing about the light, or we can sing about the things we see because of the light.
Yes.
Right? Like that's a great twist on it, and that's what I think is going on in these movies and all of this kind of public conversation.
It's interesting that you bring up T-Bone because he's worked intimately with the Coen brothers over the years.
How do you like that?
For their films.
Yeah.
He's been the music archivist on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and The Lady Killers and a number of other films.
Right. Yeah. Well, as one of our habits around here on the show is when we have a new interview guest, I try to ask them a question that tells us a little something about them, and that would be, what is your favorite Bruce Springsteen song?
Ooh, The Rising.
Isn't that the truth? See,
And
digging
I'm a
deep.
huge Bruce fan.
Are you? Well, see, I knew there's lots of reasons I knew we'd like each other. If you can believe this, Kathleen, I've actually asked some people, and they've sat there with crickets in the background. Not a response. Not a thing. So if somebody was going to pick up a Bruce Springsteen album, you'd suggest The Rising. And if someone was going to, over the holiday, movie watching vacation time here in our last 30 seconds, what Coen Brothers movie would you suggest that people start with?
For the holidays?
Yeah, like if, they got their family together and they're wanting to, watch some movies late at night and they're getting tired of each other. What should they?
Watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
It's all about who's my neighbor, and the answer is everybody.
Yeah. Okay, Kathleen, thanks a lot. And the book is available at all of your book retailers, including Common Good Books here in St. Paul, and probably at the big box retailers. Would that be true? Everywhere you can buy a book, you should buy The Dude Abides, The Gospel According to the Coen Brothers. Kathleen Falsani, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the
Take
show.
care.
We're going to be back here after the break with natural health coach Shelley Pagitt with our health tip of the week. Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950, and give us a call in about your things that are right on here on Doug Pagitt Radio, DougPagittRadio.com.